after the long-awaited cave update came to be, being known as one of, if not the most requested update to Minecraft. Since its past, the End update, if you've been anywhere on Minecraft-related spaces on the internet, has been everywhere. From thousands of videos brainstorming new features, mods adding their own spin, and much more, it's clear that it's at the same level of hype of the cave update, if not more. Whilst doing a bit of research for the Big Theory video, which is gonna take a bit longer, I noticed something Jeb said in an official video.
Dungeons may only use mobs that have been established in vanilla Minecraft.
This was the main reason illagers were added into Minecraft, starting with Vindicators and Evokers, then moving to Pillagers later on. So, very clearly, what we see in the Echoing Void DLC of Minecraft Dungeons is at least an early iteration of what Mojang wants the End to be. But similar to the two poison skeletons of Dungeons and Vanilla, the Mossy Skeleton and the Bogged, this may change down the line. Such a large-scale update could require more spread-out pieces of updates, getting the community's reaction for each piece to make each part of it suitable for everyone, which, being such a large update, might come after a few smaller drops. The lead developer for the Aether has also joined Mojang's team, working on the vanilla game now. Something that leads on to another pointer regarding generation. Another thing I had the idea of making a video on, but moving it into this video with less depth than I would have originally had. The Poisonous Potato April Fool's update could have been a generation test for new End Island generation, being more varied and less samey, since the islands of vanilla are very similar, whilst also being placed on the same XZ axis. The Flotator reminds me of the End City elevators of Minecraft Dungeons, being able to have blocks connected to it for this reason. The sticky grapple hook item could also be made from snailings. Even that talking potato reminds me how he planned for an Orb of Dominance-like mod. Text appearing to you and only you, just like the orb talking in your head, which, for everyone who knows, comes from the End. The End itself should be different to the other dimensions. While I believe they should keep the barren feel to it, barren does not mean empty. As much as I like the better End and better Nether mods, they aren't what Mojang should be going for. A lot of mods that add stuff to the End kind of miss the point and feel Mojang seems to be going for in the Echoing Void. While I hope for everything from the Echoing Void to make its way into the game, I won't be devastated if some changes are made. In the previously mentioned xatrix.business Vanilla Plus mod that we paused, Ender sent a plan to be present in a special warped forest structure, with an Eye of Ender in their chest. Defeating them drops the Shattered Eye, leaving the player to repair it with Blaze Powder. Along with the necessary Eye of Ender changes, something like this could really help with the progression in the game overall. An overhauled dragon fight would definitely be in order too, but with the way Mojang has been going with not locking a lot of the game behind something the player may not want to do, the dragon may be more optional, with the End portals spitting you out into the outer islands instead of all of them leading to the heart of the dimension. If the player decides they want to take on this challenge, along with the tweaks to make the boss more worth it, they can make their way to the middle of the dimension, just like in Minecraft Dungeons, where the fight against the Heart of Ender is also had. Ominous bottles could also enhance certain areas and challenges within the End. Maybe using one when summoning the dragon could make the fight much harder. To also note, seeing all the comments saying and hoping for it, the Heart of Ender is probably not coming back. They were the big bad in Dungeons, but to bring them back would make the efforts and events of the game essentially pointless from a story perspective. There's been a lot of talk about changing the shape of the dragon egg, being unnecessarily complex, which I feel is definitely needed. It really does stick out when used anywhere. If Mojang is planning to add at least some sort of civilization to each dimension, obviously, like with the piglins, it shouldn't just be villages again. It is more endgame, so maybe trading wouldn't be needed in the End. There was a few cool uses of the End during the MCC event, which was officially collaborated with Mojang this time around. There was a long stretch of every update near the End in the form of a cutscene type thing. After 1.21, you can see End Islands with twisting vines from the Nether in the background. It makes sense being the Ender Cup, but it's interesting to note since Dungeons has a purple variant of these vines in the Echoing Void. The color palette swap isn't entirely a simple decision, but has a bit of lore to it, which I talked about in the creaking video. The snailings, apart from a possible grapple hook, could be another source for a slime-like substance, allowing players to farm for a slime alternative in the End. Even thinking about that, it could be cool to have a third sticky block, interacting similarly in how slime and honey blocks don't stick to each other, allowing for more complex yet compact moving redstone builds and contraptions. Blastlings shoot and have a main of purple fire, which could add another type of fire to the mix. similar to Soulfire, which could be super cool to have. Even Greenfire can be seen in the Echoing Void, which could also come from mixing the Snareling drop with the Blastling drop. Watchlings, I'm not too sure about. Even with their voice, they're more so the zombies of the end. So probably something a little less useful, I'd assume. I know everyone who knows about the End Descent agrees, but End Descent would be awesome in the game. These 6-block tall residents of the end would be a good addition for fighters to go against, and a major trophy for mob collectors. Another possible idea could be something like the Aether and Twilight Forest could be used in the end, adding an entire new optional progression line into the game for those who enjoy more linear experiences, thus still catering to those who play the game to beat the dragon as their main goal. I'm not entirely sure how Mojang would do that, but they've made stuff that doesn't instantly feel more vanilla in the past. So if they were to do something like that, I'd have full faith in them. There also comes the point of making certain things a little more obvious to the player who may not know much about the game, like how ruined portals point to the creation of the Nether portal, how ominous bottles appear in the trial chambers alongside illogic captains, pointing to them being able to be used there, leading from curiosity when the structure gives them said item, or even the ancient cities using wool away from treasure areas to teach them that wool stops vibrations, allowing them to easier loot the structure. First, there's getting to the Nether fortresses, getting blaze powder, getting ender pearls, following the eyes, and getting to the stronghold. The opening of the end portal is already quite obvious, since there's usually other eyes of ender placed in random slots, letting the player understand that they need to fill in the empty spaces. Finding the Nether fortress would be natural, like most of the other structures. But something inside, possibly a sort of nether-based archaeology item, that depicts the creations of the Eye of Ender, or the two mobs involved in said creation, paired with the hint of the crafting recipe unlock, could definitely help. Then, following the eyes, if the player decides to right-click them in the overworld, would lead them to the stronghold, which would also need an overhaul as well, on top of being less confusing to navigate. It would definitely need to communicate to the player that they might have a harder time getting back out of the portal, not leaving the player to be unprepared for a possible Ender Dragon fight. If they do make the dragon fight optional, like I said, this could make it a lot less punishing to a player who has no clue what they're doing. Maybe with exit portals in certain areas. But even in dungeons, the only exit portal we know of is on the main island. So maybe that might be something they change. Who knows? I did have an idea which branches from the absence of a structure in the Pale Garden. It may be intentional. Places like the Warped Forest and the Pale Garden, like we've said before, have a definite connection to the end, with these areas likely being corrupted using end magic. So, similar to the ruined portals, pointing the player in the direction of the way to get into the Nether, structures in both the Warped Forest and Pale Garden could be implemented, containing something to show the player the way to the stronghold, acting as another form of environmental guidance for players who don't know about the end. There are so many ways this could be done, so if you have any specific ideas you think could work, tell us in the comments. As is pretty obvious, it's not as simple as just adding to the dimension. They need to take a lot of extra steps in the other related areas. Anyways, looking at how they listen to the community for the cave update, with the most requested update, with the cave update being out of the way being the end, it makes sense. Hopefully we get to see a Minecraft Dungeons 2. If not now, then later down the line. There definitely is a demand for it. And hey, if they release an end update with a bunch of Dungeons content, maybe that could be a good way to promote the sequel. If you haven't already, join our Discord in the description. We have a soundboard of my personal anguish after taking hours looking for a secret area in Minecraft Dungeons, only to realize I was looking in the wrong area. So you get to experience my captured suffering in one MP3 file. I know that's probably not the best way to get you guys to join. We also have the YouTube updates role, where you get to see updates on what's going on with videos and helping with major decisions that not even the community tab gets. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. Hope to see you in another video, but until then, have a good day or night.